Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Web3 and Chill. I'm Ayush. Joined with me, as usual, is Vishal. And our today's guest is Nia. Uh, Nia, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank
She,
you.
uh, Nia is a serial entrepreneur. She's the founder and CEO of Bespoke. She's been running it for more than 16 years. Also, the CEO of Melanted Studios and the founder of Tech Day. Sonia, why Web3? How did you get into this field?
I stumbled into Web3. I was actually asked to sit on the board of a company that had was in the blockchain space and was patenting some technology. I know that I was asked because of my marketing background to be a board member primarily, and then I'm a female and I'm a Black female, so I checked a lot of boxes, I think. But sitting on that first meeting and they were talking about blockchain, I'd never heard the word. I mean, I knew that I had been invited to be on the board of a tech company, but I thought it was tech I could relate to. I did not know that it was blockchain technology. And I literally thought that I was sitting in the room with a bunch of crazy guys who were, talking about something that would never exist. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? One of the guys I really gravitated to because he talked to everybody in a very plain way that was easily understandable, whereas everybody else was like talking so over my head I couldn't get it. So I began to ask him questions like, what is this? And can this really happen? He's like, yeah, it's already happening. This was in 2014. So pretty early into it, and that evolved into you need to invest in crypto. And so I was like, yeah, okay, not too sure about this. So we started, giving me more information on what to invest in, how to invest. And I always tell people, and I'm in a joking but very serious way, that was the scariest thing I'd ever done, was to invest in, to put real money into something that I could not hold on to, that made no sense, literally made no sense to most people when you're telling them, yeah, you're going to put money into this, token that you can't hold, that most people don't know the value of, and you're hoping against hope that it continues to increase in value. At that time, Bitcoin was $300 a Bitcoin. I bought, I know. But the thing about it is, when today you look back and you say, wow, if I would have known, I would have bought like this many. At that point, I bought 3 and just felt like I had made the stupidest mistake of my life, because I could not imagine the value continuing to rise the way it has. And to me, that is the epitome of getting into Web3 and getting into the Web3 journey, is that no one saw where we are today. Few people saw it, and even fewer could imagine that in a very quick span of time. I mean, you're talking, right now you're talking less than 10 years of something that has changed the world and will continue to change the way we do business, the way we live, the way we bank, the way we build business. So that's, I guess, a long story to my entrance. During the global pandemic, I started Melanated Studios. Initially, it was to focus on NFTs. But I had begun doing that with Bespoke Media Marketing, which for film and television. My journey in that space and my understanding of that is that Web3 and film equals Film 3. Film has to catch up with Web3. And so our journey, our mission, our consultation has been around, are you going to be on the leading edge and step into Film 3 and look at all of the freedoms that it allows you?
What are
Got
the
it.
use cases of film? Could you talk a little more about it? It's an interesting term, I must say.
Okay. Okay. So film three is the intersection of Web3 and film. And what it allows is for filmmakers to look at alternative ways to bring their content to the world. I mean, think about the ability to fund your film and not have to go through a green lighting process through a studio, to be able to write a content and build a team in a DAO that everyone benefits from, and then bring that film to market, to be able to create a work that nothing is on the cutting room floor unless you just want it to stay there, where literally all of your assets, the behind the scenes, the outtakes, the character actives can all be monetized and sold to your fan base around a movie. To create community, we're no longer subject to gatekeepers. That within our own communities, we can tell a story that will resonate globally. We've all been, kind of put into these confines of this is what you can do because no one wants to see it. Well, who's no one? We all have an audience. With Bespoke, our tagline is "We find your tribe," because I believe that throughout the world we all have tribes, right? We all have people who resonate with us. And the beauty with Web3 is that we're no longer relegated to geography, to where we can travel, just like you and I right now. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. You're in Delhi. So it makes community is amazing, the ability to connect.
Got it. Got it. That sounds very exciting. And as a film fan, that it's an interesting time to be, since you are already working or you have worked with some of the big brands in the market like Netflix, Disney, Amazon, and even HBO Max. Do you have any insider news that you can share on our channel exclusively? If we are going to soon see some of our favorite movies in VR soon?
So, is there any, those are very big platforms and very relegated to the way that they work. So, the traditional gatekeepers and processes are in place. That's the beauty of Film 3, and that, if you create something and you create an audience, then they'll find you. I mean, that's the opportunity. And there have been some filmmakers, there's actors who have done a great job in building their personal brand, and to the point that they don't have to look for anybody, they're being found. And that's the beauty of Web3.
Got it, got it, got it. I think that's a really interesting idea. Like I'll give you an example. There was this not very popular series, but people who have seen this on Netflix, it's called the series name is Mindhunters. And people who have seen this series, they were like really big fan of this series, and Netflix decided they don't want to continue with the series after season 2 because it is not making enough money. So again, my assumption, but let me know if my thinking is in the correct direction. So in the world of film 3, if now the fans are creating a community and they are saying, hey, if Netflix don't want to fund this, maybe we can do a fundraising and we can collect some money to create a season 3 of the series which we love. Is that a possible scenario in the world of film 3?
That's absolutely possible. And that is the beauty of someone not telling you that it's popular enough. I mean, what's enough? And how much money have they really put into marketing it, to make sure that people even know it's there. That's one of the issues, I believe, with a lot of streaming platforms. They just dump content so that the
Yeah.
user, can see. But if you're not, if the key art is not compelling, if it doesn't come up on your banner, if you're not reminded, how do you know it's there? I mean, it's like you have to just dig. So there's a couple of things. That's, the filmmaker, it's called, investing in your film. If the platform is not investing in marketing, you invest in marketing, because the return on investment is that it's eyeballs. If it's eyeballs and clicks, if Netflix is getting enough people to stream it, they're gonna keep it there. I worked with a filmmaker whose film stayed on Netflix for almost 3 years, because people constantly marketed, people constantly streamed it. And so that would be, if you want to know, like a cheat, the cheat is you have to, keep people engaged, keep them talking about it on social media, keep them looking forward to it. Then it's worth them, reinvesting in, because they know there's an audience. Everybody's going to come talking about their film, saying, yeah, and we have all these people who love it. But if, you don't have the analytics to support it,
Yeah,
then that's like saying I have a pretty baby. Of course you think your baby is pretty.
I think that's a perfect example. But I love the analogy. I think it can truly transform the entertainment industry, at least. Switching gears slightly, I also understood you are very vocal about the importance of diversity, equality, and inclusion in the Web3 space. So, what are some of the key challenges that you see in this area, and how you are solving it, or how you through Tech Day is solving this?
So one of the key challenges that I see is the lack of diversity and inclusion in the space globally. And, really, particularly in the United States, is making sure that people are aware of it, are aware of the opportunities that, coding, developing, creating, this is a creator space. So, everything that you're doing in a Web2 environment can translate into Web3 and bigger and better. Every opportunity that exists, there's a future opportunity that doesn't require traditional pathways to get there. And that's something that I feel, there's many doors that have been closed when it comes to, how do you get into the space, or even talking about it. I always say, words are code. Code is code, but word is code. It's when you look at terms like NFT, when in your life have you ever used the word fungible? Never. So, digital art, can't you understand that? Digital, there's ways that things could be said that everybody understands it. And then there's ways that things can be said that if you're not in the club, you have no clue what it means. And, and not only that, but the acronym doesn't resonate with you. When you're telling people NFT, they're like, what? MFT, they don't, it doesn't sink in. So when it's breaking these barriers. So the point of entry, removing the obstacles that people feel comfortable with, stepping in and not feeling, nobody likes to step into any space or ask questions where they feel like, they're stupid. And it very much will make someone feel like that, because if you have never used the word fungible, it's not immediately available to you in terms of the definition. So if I come in and you say, oh, well, we're talking about NFTs, you walk up and you hear people talking, well, what are you guys talking about? NFTs. And you're like, oh, what is that? Non-fungible token? And you're like, huh? So Tech Day is about, creating this space where people feel comfortable coming in at whatever point they are. So we say from tourist to purist. and having relatable conversations, getting to know each other in a comfortable environment, so that, because that's really how greatness is created, is having people with ideas talk to people with expertise, and not being afraid to, because now you have collaboration. I have a great idea, you have the expertise, you know how to take it to market. We really have the ability to do something life-changing, right?
Got it.
So,
No, that's amazing. I really love the keyword from tourist to purist. I think it's going to stay with me, and it's a great work that you're doing in your space, because the problem is very much uh, in roots. Like people, when someone asks what is an NFT and someone say non-fungible token, it's generally the end of the conversation, because the other person might not be very comfortable in asking, okay, what is the NFT, in the fear of appearing stupid. So kudos to you for doing this great work. But what is the story behind this? What is the motivation behind starting Tech Day? Because you are already doing so many things. You are also NYT best-selling author, and you have been doing so many great things. What was the motivation for starting this new thing that you started with Tech Day?
Tech Day is more of a passion project, in that it is really to create a forum of engagement that exists, where people can come in and be creative and play and learn and grow without the confines of feeling like you've stepped into this rigid space, that there's some expectations of you. Whenever we go into spaces that are rigid, or you feel that you're going to be challenged in some way, you're hesitant to go, or you have to mentally prepare yourself to walk into it. Tech Day is not that space. Tech Day is just, DEI. The day was diversity, equity, and inclusion in technology. And how do we really message that? I don't believe you can force that down anyone's throat. We've seen DEI, pop up in the conversation, and it pops up when there is bad news, but the minute bad news goes away, the conversation leaves. I think you have to create a space where people meet and exchange ideas, exchange values, that to a degree the tech is removed and humanity is brought in. When you meet someone as human to human, you have a different appreciation for them. And then the ability to say diversity, equity, and inclusion, you don't have to sell it so hard, because you like that person. Like we've been chilling and talking and enjoying our conversation. I want to do it some more. And to me, that's really how you build this inclusive community. The writing, writing. I'm like a super type A personality, so I'm always doing something. I'm always learning. I have to do something. So writing for me is like when people watch television, I write. So it's a little bit.
Got it. Got it. No, that's really exciting. I also see there's a lot of event of Tech Day that is happening. Do you also provide one-to-one coaching or mentorship for anyone who want to explore this field and want to be a part of your Tech Day community, or do you also have a
Yes.
set of mentors who do that?
I do it, as well as I have, volunteers who've come on to do it as well. We're always open and interested in anyone who wants to be involved in the community. It's all about growing it. That's the reason that's why we have our calendar. We're moving into different countries. We want to grow globally, to have this global conversation. Web3 is global. Tech Day should be global.
Well, I'm
So the
sure
answer is yes.
it's gonna work out great. Now, moving gears, let's talk a little bit about marketing, film marketing, and Web3. Do you have
Okay.
amazing examples to share?
So with film marketing and Web3, I think that they overlap. And that's how, we brought Web3 into Bespoke. Film marketing is typically a very linear process. And that is, the film comes out, they market it to the audience, they, breadcrumb it before to let you know that it's coming and where it will be, what the destination, what the date is. With Film 3 and with our approach to marketing, like I said, ours is a little different in that we find your tribe. So our primary focus is for every film, there is an audience. Everything doesn't appeal to everybody. So, you have to find who is your target audience, engage with them, connect with them, and build within that audience, because the biggest, tidal wave that can occur with any film is word of mouth. You telling somebody about a film is much stronger than a commercial running every 5 minutes, or billboards that you now block out. You block half of the things out around you, but let a friend call you or text you and say, hey, turn on this, you're gonna love it. You're going to turn. You may not stay, but you're going to turn. That's a view. That click, that getting past the introductions, cha-ching for the filmmaker. So, that's, really, really important. But with Film 3, and one of the things that, we've been able to do is take, and we're actually working on a project now, and some of the things I just can't give the name NDA.
That's what I was hoping for.
But I can tell you that most major platforms right now and filmmakers are looking for ways to bring their film and their process into Web3. A couple of years ago, we were really trying to, beat the drum. You needed to get us started before the film starts. So we can capture behind the scenes, so we can begin to engage and create a roadmap for an NFT to come out, in conjunction and build this community around. That was you would have thought that I was an alien, because no one could, they were like, yeah, whatever, no one's going to do this. Now, they're asking for it as a part of the marketing strategy. When we write the strategy or turn it in, how can we apply this film to Web3? What can we do? So, we're back to, we have filmmakers who are in the process of funding their scripts. They are creating communities and tokenizing the scripts and selling those. And then that's a tiered buy-in. So I have one in particular who they're finishing up their final artwork and everything to do the first script as the first tier for 500 tokens. It's a higher buy-in, but the royalty is also much higher. And then within that, they get a percentage of the film sales. So they become like executive producers. And then the second tier is a different level. So, and typically it's 3 tiers but it can fund a film very quickly and make it very seamless. And so I have more and more first-time filmmakers who, are filmmakers who have been through the process of dealing with investors, who are now back and okay, let's try this way, because it's a lot less energy to do that, and the return for them is much easier. And then you take the behind the scenes and you tokenize that. You take the key art, every iteration of the key art, and tokenize that. So when you think about it, you really, again, you have nothing left on the cutting room floor.
Wow, that's interesting. The last 1 year, the crypto market has gone down. NFTs aren't selling that much, and there were definitely projects where you were selling behind the cards, not selling, but if you have their NFTs, you could see behind the cards or
right.
The initial scripts, the handwritten scripts, etc. Do you think this crypto winter will affect the way the producers want to market it in Web3?
I think that if anything, it's the time to get into it, to understand it. At the height, when it was super hot and everybody was, taking a pencil and drawing on a piece of paper and putting it on and saying, oh, this is an NFT and I'm going to sell this for $15,000 because I felt compelled to take the selfie and draw myself.
Yeah.
Now I think what it will require is thought, that there has to be, a roadmap that really makes sense, that you can communicate, that building community, that you really take the time to go through the steps. So I think for someone that's coming into it, this is the perfect time where things have slowed down. But I also think that this is the time that, a new path will be discovered. I think that there is more utility, that people will move away from the digital arts and the PFPs and really move into what's the utility? What else can be done here? And so I think that that's really the next iteration of the NFT world and crypto winter.
Do we have any success stories um, from Web3 and promoting movies, or any such projects which have been really successful that you think we could talk about?
I think that in terms of promoting movies, no, not at this point. Anthony Hopkins did Zero Contact as an NFT that was, successful. And you have to think about how do you measure that success within the realm? What we're talking about with Film 3 is actually creating the Web3 experience, but also having the Web2 parallel experience so that you are maximizing return on investment opportunities. To create something that is only available in Web3 right now as a film, and because you have those that want to see shown in the metaverse, have a metaverse release. That's fantastic, but are we there yet? And the answer is no. And so will we be there? Yes. Are we headed there? Yes, but we're not there. So until we're there and you're creating a product that needs to have real world value, you have to be able to play in both fields. So I think that is probably the biggest obstacle in bringing people into the space, is making them understand they need to prepare for both worlds. But getting it funded in a Web3 environment, creating Web3, digital kind of products. But if you think in terms of a film and being able to deliver that film to Netflix, being able to deliver that film to any of the major platforms, but at the same time having it tokenized. The big part of it is, and when you talk about during this crypto winter, what is one of the most advantageous things for any creator is to own their IP, to maintain ownership of their IP, and to do it via smart contract. And then take it into a Web2 environment so that you always are benefiting off of your creativity.
Yeah, so that's very valid. And maybe Ayush, to answer your question, I think for large franchises like, let's say, Harry Potter or Marvel, I think the first adoption that we'll see is in the theme parks. I think Disneyland launched its own VR section inside some of the Disneyland. I think that is where it going to come first, but it's a long way until we can see real VR movie. Imagine it's from the journey. Like earlier, there used to be black and white movie, then color came, then Dolby came, then 3D came, then IMAX came. So
Right.
yeah, I think we are in that journey. Hopefully, we'll be old by the time, but let's see
Yeah.
how things goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for it. I think that it's coming. I think it's a train coming down the tracks. It's just like, how long are we going to wait for the train? So we have to be able to continue what we're doing, but also I think forward thinking and forward looking enough to play in both worlds.
Yeah,
It's like you can play video games, but you can also play a regular game. You can play a board game. One doesn't stop you from doing the other.
right.
And to that point, you look at most games right now, most games that were played in real life are now an app, right?
Yeah, 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 that's true. Very interesting. I think in the interest of time, I'll put my last question. So you are also an author, and it's more of a speculative question on how do you think how much valid writing a book will be in 10 years from now? Because we see a declining in readers, and we see people are opting for audiobooks or podcast or watching a video. The next thing that is coming is watching a content in with a VR glass or having that immersive storytelling. So how do you think how valid writing book or written mode of expression is going to be, and what is the future on that?
So from a personal and not as an author, but from a personal perspective, I would hope that reading would never go away. And that is a fear because we're in a 3-second environment, right? If it doesn't engage you in 3 seconds, you don't go any further. That's a recipe for disaster. I mean, you think about the information, and it's not only, I think that reading for enjoyment kind of settles like your nervous system just to calm down. And whereas when you're scrolling or you're just popping up and you're reading a couple of sentences, there's an anxiousness that is always present because you're not doing it for enjoyment, right? From a business perspective, I see, and as an author, I've already moved into tokenizing, books as and really and talking to other authors about that opportunity to tokenize their first draft, to create community around their writing. When you have a favorite author, you're not going to just shut them down and not want to know what they, it's like you're going to want to still know that these books are turned into film. That's the other opportunity. I don't see it going away soon, but there is, like I said, there is a concern when you live in a 3-second environment, when you have kids, you want them. There are certain stories that I enjoyed growing up. I wanted my kids to enjoy. Beyond me telling them about the story or telling them, because there's a journey that you go through. There's history that you learn. There's, a lot of things that, come as part of, reading a book. In terms of podcasting, I think that most authors who are on a cutting edge, who are looking beyond writing a physical book, I think the day of the physical book is gone. I felt like the book was gone when Kindle was, when you could get an ebook. The physical book was a lost leader.
No, got it.
I,
No,
I,
that's quite amazing. I love the idea of tokenizing for author. Like I
yes,
as
yes.
a reader,
On that, why should somebody tokenize a book?
I
I'm
mean, come
sure.
on, Ayush. I
uh,
let me answer that. I as a reader, I would love to talk to George R. R. Martin or Stephen King, or I also want to meet them.
what does an
I
author get out of it? Like from
I
that
think it's a
perspective?
other way of monetization, right? And I'm willing to pay for it. But today there is no medium for me to do that. Like if I want to talk to Stephen King or if I want to meet him, there is no medium. I need to find a literature event where he's speaking. It might be in a different country. I need to struggle with visa, travel, go and stand in line. So I think that medium is not there for a one-to-one
Right.
communication between an author and a fan.
That's true. And typically that would be what you build into the NFT, or you build into the DAO, is that there's, your readers have access to you, that, you have conversations, that they have input into outcomes. that they have imagined, and this is one of the things that I experienced personally when I wrote my first book, and only because I was just writing. I wasn't writing, to be honest with you, I was writing for my own entertainment. I wasn't writing with the thought of being published. And I was sharing chapters with friends of mine, and we would meet up at Starbucks and we would discuss certain chapters or certain characters. The interesting thing to me is how emotionally attached they became to a character and wanted to have a voice in the outcome. And then once the book was published, how when I go to book signings or speak with readers at book clubs, they would say, oh my God, you have to do book 2 because I need to know what happened to this character, or please don't kill this character. And it was just amazing to me. Imagine being able to have a forum, as a la Stephen King, where you had a preview and a voice, and not necessarily that he would take it, but at least you could say it and give him something to consider or have that kind of exchange. So I think that there's value there.
Yeah, I think another example, like a lot of people were not happy with the final episode of Game of Thrones. Imagine having a community of super fans who have a say of how the show is going, and they might not decide the entire plot, but they at least have some calls on something, right? Which makes them
Yes.
happy.
Yes. Right. I mean, it's literally, this is what I love about this space, is that the opportunities for engagement, for just all of these interactions, it's literally mind-blowing. It's everything that you could think. Whatever you think, you could say, oh, that's a great idea. I want to do that. And no, it doesn't mean you don't have to do it because other people are doing it. You can do it because you choose to do it. You can lead that space. You don't have to follow anybody. I mean, I always say permissionless. That, to me, that's the most freeing word in the world. Like, all of our lives, we lived with needing permission. Now we don't. So why not?
I think it's a great idea. I truly loved. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the true power of decentralization, right? Putting the power in the hand of people who like that.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the author won't be a person, maybe it will be a DAO.
Or an AI.
What am I writing now?
Yeah,
Is that what you got?
yeah. What are you writing these days?
I'm writing a science fiction thriller, which is
Nice.
nothing that I've written before, but it's something I've always been interested in writing. So I'm a huge Stephen King fan.
Same here. Dark Tower is the best fantasy fantasy books ever. They did not make a good
Yeah,
movie out of it though, but the books
I
are
know.
truly beautiful.
I know. I feel the same way. So
Yes.
yeah, but I'm writing it's called The Four Skins. And it's a horror, science fiction horror
That's great to know.
book.
I look forward to
Yeah,
read it someday.
thank you. Thank you.
Sure. I think
Great.
with this, we come to the end of this episode. Nia, thank you so much for joining us. I had a great time. It was so insightful. Hopefully, we'll have you back again sometime.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And maybe next time we'll have successful examples of movies which use Web3 or Metaverse for their publicity.
I think so. I think I will. I know I will, but I just can't say right now.
Okay, sure. Let us know when you'd want to talk to us again, and we'll.
Okay, I
Yeah,
will.
great.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.